Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Secretary Yellen. Thank you for your service to the country. We hope to see more of you here before our committee. I have a question for you, but before I do that, I do want to express to you how extremely disappointed I am in the administration's budget proposal released yesterday. As I think about the 750,000 constituents that I represent in Central Illinois and Northwest Illinois, I can tell you that their priorities are vastly different than what's reflected in the administration's budget proposal. Just to highlight a few things, eliminating the stepped-up basis would really crush family farms in my district and family-owned businesses. Quadrupling the recently created stock buyback tax, which will hurt Americans with 401k plans and pensions, is in there, and expanding the net investment income tax on small businesses that are still struggling with high inflation and workforce shortages, again, is disappointing when I look at the budget. It is clear that many of the real challenges that Americans are facing are not being heard by this administration and in this budget. To my question, I do want to just, it was referenced earlier, I do want to talk about the OECD process and the current global tax negotiations, and specifically Pillar 1, Madam Secretary. We understand that negotiations around Pillar 1 have stalled, and I believe we have significant risk that digital service taxes, which disproportionately harm U.S. businesses, will spread across the world. We've already seen that. Republicans have repeatedly requested from the administration and from you to consult with us before making decisions about your negotiations with our European counterparts. You have not done so in terms of communicating with us, and it's been a source of frustration. You've not provided any analysis that would allow members of this committee to evaluate the effects of Pillar 1. So, Madam Secretary, as you sit here today, I think you would agree that it is not financially responsible to purchase a product without knowing its price. And that's the real core here. So when can Congress expect to see this analysis so that we know what we are actually being sold here?
So let me say that we have consulted and with this committee and with staff on a regular basis about these global negotiations. So we are keeping staff of this committee, our staff is keeping committee staff well informed.
Well, reclaiming my time on just on that point, Madam Secretary, we are looking for an analysis. I would love to have, if you have an analysis here today, you can supply us.
Let me respond on that point. What we've said is that we stand to gain substantially in Pillar 1 because we're a very large market jurisdiction, and that means that we will get increased taxing power. However, there are also provisions on which we will lose, and it's a very fine balance. Zero is certainly a possibility with respect to revenue, and there remain significant disagreements in the Pillar 1 negotiations. Until those are resolved, we can't do the analysis that you want, but what we have said is that the likely impact on U.S. revenues, while it could be slightly positive or slightly negative, depending on the details, it is not likely to be large.
Well, I would just say the premise of what you just said there and the justification for that sounds great, but an analysis on there that we can digest and look at and work with your team is what we need. Thank you.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from